Welcome back, my dear students. Welcome back, everybody. Another part and another lecture. And this is the third video in the communication process. Shall go directly to what we came for here and move directly to the points which we have to work about. The effective reading. The word effective reading. So the materials itself must be right. For reading right, the material itself must be right. You have to use a good materials, clear, everything is fine. So here, remember that most sources of printed literatures represent carefully phrased and structured accounts of ideas, event of issues, use written text to your advantage. So use it to your advantage. There are certain techniques which you can use to develop the effectiveness of your reading. And we consider these here in respect of selecting the right reading materials and reading efficiently and effectively. Okay. So the first of all, that you will identify the right materials to read from. So here, you will ask yourself this question. If the topic you are interested in precisely cover the publications and you are on the right part or the right spot, you are in the right information place, does it cover the topic at an appropriate level or no? Is the publication arranged in a way which makes it easy for you to find what you need? Is the style of writing such that you would want to read it or no? Those are the points you should know about. You should also read the introductory information about the book. You should have a look at conclusions or summaries of any book. Read few pages and check out they are okay or no. What is the efficient and the effectiveness reading? What are those efficient and effective reading? Be selective. You may not have to read the whole publication, or at least not the order in order. So you will select some parts to work. Skim the text first. Just take a skim, like take overall idea, navigate the whole book is talking about what. Concentrate on reading. Then always make notes. Sometimes when we were young, we used to use the margins like here to make some notes of what we are reading. This is the effective reading. So let me go now for this question and say, new question. How can we achieve effective reading? Effective reading. How can we achieve effective reading? How can we achieve an effective reading? How this can happen? Okay. Move now to the verbal skills. We'll move now to a new part that is the verbal skills. So what about the verbal skills? The verbal skills include, or the verbal communication is not just about words we choose, but also encompasses the following factors. So this all in the verbal skills. Pronunciation, the accent, clarity of speech, choice of languages, use of foreign words, jargon, stress, tone, volume, rhythm, and articulation. So those points are also of a verbal skills. Use them in a verbal. So for the pronunciation, regional dialects are only relevant if you are going to use pronunciation or specific words which only those from a particular region will understand. Strangulated vowels or pronunciation is irritating. The word bath is perfectly acceptable as either bath or bath or bath, but bath or bath sound contrived. Try saying this aloud and you will see what I mean here, what do the writer mean here. Also, an affected accent is insincere. Take care to speak slowly if your audience do not have the same accent as yourself. So, yes, this is the most important part, is to talk slowly if your audiences or the people whom you communicate are not talking the same language which you are doing. How about the clarity? If you plan what you have to say and understand both points you intend to make and the potential objections of them, then you ought to be able to express your ideas and proposals clearly and simply. So be simple and be clear in your ideas, in your speech, and everything. Choice of language. Sometimes slangs like work, like as example, okay, instead of fine, very good, can be used as response to questions. Steering, swearing is usually inappropriate here. Don't use swearings, those things. Avoid over complex phrases or jargons. About the stress, you may choose to stress important words or syllables. That's fine. Stress may change the meaning of the entire sentence. For example, we may need to improve sales by 10%. We may need to improve sales by 10%. We may need to improve sales by 10%. So this you are stressing here, and that will make the person, when you repeat the sentence 3 times, like as example, you stress here in may. We may need to improve sales by 10%. We may need to improve sales by 10%. We may need to improve sales by 10%. So 3 words, may, improve, need, you stress them. It gives another thing. It gives another feeling like this is very important to increase the sales with 10%. It shows how far it's very important to increase the sales with the 10%. Also, the tone of your voice. Sometimes here, as example, in some places they tell you, I don't like the tone of your speech. I don't like the tone of your voice. I don't like the tone of your speech. It means that you are not talking in a good way or whatever. The tone of your voice indicates your emotional response and enthusiasm for what you are saying. So this is the tone. So the word itself is not changing, but the way you are stressing and the way you tune, particularly change the sentence and stand the way you are talking by the tone, the volume. Make sure that the people can hear you also. So your volume must be high if it's needed to reach the people. So it's based on the people's, your audience, how far they are understanding you, they are understanding you clearly or no. Based on this, you loud your voice or not. Rhythm and pace. There is no need to rush any oral presentation. Plan what you have to say. Okay. And also, if you'll use similarly lengthy pauses between points or phrases are extremely irritating. So here, take care of this point. There is no need to rush any oral presentation. Plan what you have to say, the time allocated, and adopt a pace which allows you to achieve this. How about the articulation? So if you speak unclear, what will happen? Misunderstanding. If you speak unclear, what will happen? Misunderstanding. So what you will do then, you have to avoid mumbling, hesitancy, reading every word like a robot. Don't read like a robot. There is stress, there is intonation, there is tone of speech. There is things that you have to repeat back to show the importance. There is a clear accent or clear way to talk. You must be very slow when other people are not having the same accent. Missing off the beginning or ends of words also. Here we go. The next one is the listening. The next communication skill is listening. So managers spend approximately 60 to 70% of their time communicating with individuals or groups. Approximately 50 to 65% in listening. So when you see here, that means 5% is for him to talk. And like 5%, if he has 60% here, sorry, in listening, then 40% for talking, 70% in listening, then 30% for talking. That means managers listen more than they talk. The meaning of this, that the managers or the decision makers usually listen more than they talk. So listening is a skill. Listening is a very good skill because you are listening to informations. Active listening. Listening is an active, not passive activity. It requires understanding of the communication and the ability to make effective judgments based on what you listened or what you heard. Okay. But this is also depends on what they like to hear and what they expect, like to hear and expect to hear. There are 3 levels of listening. There are 3 levels of listening. Those are attentive listening for important or highly relevant information. So you are very attentive. You pay so much attention because of the important information. You are in very important information. You need to listen. Empathetic listening. Empathetic listening also to assume oneself with the speaker and see common grounds. Casual listening for pleasure, where we may respond in a more light-hearted way or whatever. But the most important one in business here is the attentive listening. Attentive listening. Effective listening. How will we achieve the effective listening? We comprehend faster than we speak. So understand what you are listening more than speaking. Like you see now, the managers listen more than they speak. What we saw just now, that the managers listen more than they speak. External distraction compete for our attention. We don't take the time to listen. We don't know how to listen. We allow our emotions and prejudice to filter what we hear. Those things, if you do, that means that you did a good listening. Again, I would say them, comprehend faster than speaking. So understand, then speak. External distraction compete for our attention. So avoid the distraction, avoid the external distortion and distraction. Take a good time for yourself to listen before you speak. Listen very carefully before you speak. You must know how to listen. So also allow your emotions to filter what you hear. Is it true? Is it gossip? Is it rumors? Is it something superstitious, or are it facts? So you have to make sure of what you are listening to. Is it okay or not? How can we reach effective listening? How can we achieve effective reading? I will take the same question right away, and I will put this question: how can we achieve effective listening? How can we achieve effective listening? How can we achieve effective listening? Okay. How can we achieve effective listening? And I will stop here around 5 minutes, and I will complete my talking to you guys after we answer these questions. How can we achieve effective listening? We'll be back around 5 minutes after finding the answers for these questions. So we are back here now, my dears. We are back here, and one thing more I just want to say or talk about is that how can we achieve effective listening? That's what we were working about now. So listen for facts and remember keywords. So very important when you listen is just to listen to the facts. What are the facts? Is explained here. What are the points which I'm hearing? Listen for feelings. Do not turn out to unpleasant messages that we are not keen to hear. Don't tune out. So focus on the important messages by other meaning. Clarify what's being said by asking questions, if it is relevant or no. Give a reflective summary, if it is appropriate, which briefly paraphrases what the other person has been saying. You then know that you are both on common ground. In that case, you will know that everything is going fine. Still, we have also the note taking is very important, particularly in the business communication. Note taking is very, very important. It's a very important part of the communication. So because usually you use take notes while I'm listening to, as example, if I am working for the manager and he's telling me some points, I have to take notes and so on. So it's a very important process, notes taking. The purpose of notes taking, why do we take notes? The main reason for notes taking is often assumed to be provide a written record of a spoken presentation or event. If it is something important, you have to record it and so that you can go to it back. So notes will record so that you will not forget what's good. If you are training, suppose you are training now in a new company, you have to take notes, like if someone is training you to do the job, the key, the passwords, as example, if you are having a passwords to open logs, to open your own computer, laptop in the new job which you are doing. So in that case, it's preferably that you take notes because you will not, you can't remember the passwords, you can't remember the procedures, all the procedures. In that case, you should take notes of the work itself and how the work goes. So you have to take notes about how to do the job and so on. So notes taking usually serves two purposes, like what we see. To aid learning, it helps in the learning process, and to facilitate recall so that you can memorize what you have listened or watched before. When you just when you work on this file like this way, when you just take notes, that will make you easy to remember what you had before. It will be easy for you to remember what you had before from learning. Usually, like we take notes from written resources and from oral resources. We will take notes from written and oral resources. So if you're taking certain things from written sources, take it as quotes. The knowledge source of information is often important. So books, as example, or records, or whatever, is very important for taking information. And it's useful to keep records of the sources you consult at the time. Making notes from oral sources also. You should make notes from oral sources. In the oral sources, you have to pick up key points of things are going on. Like I'm telling you, if you are going to be trained in a new job and your manager in the business, he is telling you some important points. So you have in that case to pick out some points of him, which are the key points. Like as example, the main things that you might forget, so that you will pick it up and write it down. So that it will help you when you come to recall it back. Yes, he talked about this point, he talked about this point. Okay. You can use also the visual plays. You can use the overhead projectors like what we are doing now in class in the lecture. We are using the projectors, and that's also helping in the to retrieve back. This also, you can use it as recording for verbal. Like I'm talking now verbal, and you get used by the using of the overhead projectors into that will facilitate for you the process of learning through taking notes. Okay. And also there is making notes after an event. Making notes after an event. It's always better to take notes at all the time of the experience. Don't wait. Don't wait till the event is done and then you take notes, because you might forget. You might forget some things. Okay, so that keep always. In such situations, it's important to make notes as soon after the event is possible. So if there is event and you are not able to make notes, now make these notes as soon as possible after the event is done. Okay. Now also, things are moving on in a better way, like in the communication, or like using Zoom and using such a good new means of technology. That helps so much also to record, like there are records of Zoom everywhere, records of Zoom meeting, whatever, if you are in a business meeting. So you can return back easily to these recorded materials, and you can watch out what you're missing from. What are the note-taking technique? There are numbers principles of techniques which you can use. So general principles: be selective. Don't try to write everything down. So don't try to write everything down. You have to be selective. Means you write some points, which is very important, because you won't be able to write everything, but at least you will write the things which is very important for you. Translate into your own words as much as possible. So make it easy, because you will recall it and memorize it if you write it in the way you understood it. If you write it by the way you understood it, simply in a simple words. Also use abbreviations. Abbreviations also, like as example, if I'm taking notes now, here I will write it in the margin. I will use abbreviations as much as I can, and that will help me so much. Structures your notes, taking around the key points. So like we said before, to the core directly. Don't hang around, like don't go for more details which are not required. Keep on the main details and the main topic ideas, and write it. We have also linear notes. This is perhaps the most common technique for notes taking, mainly because it mirrors the way in which information is usually presented, but also often because no other techniques are known. Linear notes consist of heading and subheading. So you will put the heading and subheading. Like here, like see examples here. Innovation, or innovation and change, the same thing. Change, this is the meaning of change. Then you would say the meaning of innovation. Okay. So you will take notes like this. You will go to the main ideas, and then you will move into the sub ideas later on. So Linear notes consist of heading and subheading. I want you to remember this and just see this example. Like we said here, the innovation consists of a change. I will talk about the change and I will talk about 2 points subheading, but the main heading is the innovation. So, and these are subheadings, which goes more details about the heading itself. So this is also a way for linear notes. That's we call it linear notes, which consist of headings and subheadings, as you see, headings and subheading. So heading and subheading, those are the linear notes. Spider diagram also. The spider diagram, this looks like here, it shows steps if something is complicated, like, or goes like from a start to an end, and you just want to grow it. So that looks like a graph. It's a graphic way to express. So spider diagram is a graphic way to express. It's also point is defined and everything else is linked to by means of branches and sub-branches. So it goes like this. Spider diagram are particularly well suited to recording unstructured interviews or discussion where there is no clear linear framework to the interaction. So it shows like a continuous or process which is not structured or whatever. Now we will move into another point, which is common problems with the notes taking. What are the main common problems with the notes taking? But before this, we want to go and say, what are types of notes taking? What are the types of notes taking? What are the types of notes taking? Notes taking. And this question also will stand here, will stop here for around 5 minutes and to get answer for this question. So what are the types of notes taking? And this is a point. Now we'll go to the common problems with the notes taking. The common problems with the notes taking. The factors can be divided into 4 categories as follows: the structure of the presentation, the clarity with which the information is organized and presented, particularly in regard to introductory explanation, the tone and approach of the speaker, the variety of the format within the presentation, your own interest in the topic under consideration. So when you are more interested, you will be very eager to take more notes and very accurate notes. If you are not interested, you will not take notes. And based also on the way the lecture or whatever you are taking notes from is organized, how far it is. So taking notes depends on many points. The most important barrier for good notes taking is the first point, which is the structure is poor. The structure of what? The structure of the presentation. If the person who's talking to you or from whom you take the presentation or from like exactly like in a lecture, if you are not interested in the lecture, then the notes we will take will be very weak as well. If the teacher is not good, and he is not able to conduct you the information in a logic manner, then in that case, you won't be able to take information, and even the notes in that case, which you will take. These notes, you will not have the enthusiasm, and you will not be eager to take it because you are not interested, or you don't understand it as it's supposed to be. For that reason, the structure of the presentation is the most or the common problem with the notes taking. So those are we were talking here about the oral communications, and now we will move into a new chapter, which is the written communication. We will go to the written communication. So I shall see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Have a very good night. Bye-bye.